Before tanks, before drones, and even before gunpowder, terror on the battlefield could come on four legs. Amidst shouts, spears, and swords, swift shadows crossed the war fields of the Roman Empire. Muscular, agile, obedient, yet fierce. These were not men nor horses. They were the Canis Bellator, the Roman war dogs, bred by the Romans to protect, hunt, fight, and kill. The Canis Bellator was not a camp pet. It was a living weapon. Today, few people know its name. It was forgotten by history books, but never by the legionaries who trusted their lives to these faithful guardians. Origins, the mountain breeds of ancient Greece. To understand how this lethal creature came to be, we need to go back in time to the mountains of Greece and the legendary breeders of the ancient world. The name Canis Bellator, in Latin, literally means warrior dog, but the animal behind that name did not appear by chance. It was shaped through the brutal selection of wars, hunts, and sieges over centuries. Its origins trace back to the Greek Molossian hounds, an ancient breed of massive dogs used to protect herds and property in the mountainous regions of Epirus, land that today corresponds to Albania and northwestern Greece. Philosophers like Aristoteles and poets like Virgilius spoke of these dogs as true beasts. Domesticated, loyal to their masters, but capable of tearing a lion's throat if needed. The Romans, always attentive to the practical qualities of other peoples, saw a diamond in the rough in the Molossians. They began importing them, crossing them with local breeds and barbarian war dogs that were faster, more aggressive, and less predictable. The perfect combat dog. The goal was to create the perfect combat dog. Large yet agile, strong, and obedient. Thus emerged the Canis Bellator, a dog about 60 centimeters tall, weighing between 40 and 50 kilograms. Its dark fur made it less visible at night, with a deep, guttural bark and naturally territorial and protective instincts. A true canine gladiator. By the 2nd century BC, Rome's public spectacles had evolved from simple gladiator duels to full-blown operas of violence. Dogs, especially the Canis Bellator, became part of this macabre show, trained to attack with precision, ignore pain, and react to the scent of blood. These dogs were not presented as companions, but as execution beasts. They entered the arena to chase condemned criminals, face unarmed prisoners, or even fight against exotic beasts brought from distant lands. Lions, bears, and giant wild boars. Before the fights, they were kept fasting for days to ensure even more aggressive behavior. When the chains were released, the crowd erupted. The brutality wasn't accidental. It was the climax of the spectacle. Some dogs became so famous they were given names and received popular ovations, like true four-legged gladiators. From arena to battlefield. In the arena, the Canis Bellator was treated as a living weapon, but its true calling was yet to be revealed. Soon, Rome would discover that this animal could be much more than a circus monster. It could be a soldier. With the expansion of the empire, Rome began waging wars in every corner of the known world, facing enemies with surprising tactics. Among them, one caught particular attention: war dogs used by the Celts, Scythians, Germans, and Britons. These dogs attacked with blind ferocity, leaping over shields, tearing at the legs of legionaries, and protecting their masters' bodies with claws and teeth. Rome understood the message and decided to create its own monsters. The answer was the refinement of the Canis Bellator, now crossbred with barbarian breeds to increase its aggression and speed. Military discipline. But the true Roman difference was not only physical, it was doctrinal. Unlike tribal dogs that attacked anything that moved, the Roman Canis Bellator was trained to act like a legionary. It would attack only on command, recognize allies, hold position even under stress, and die alongside its master if necessary. That's how the Canis Bellator left the arena and entered formation, marching alongside armed men. Not as an animal, but as part of the deadliest military machine of the ancient world. Like any recruit of the legion, the dog underwent a rigorous training regimen designed to transform its raw instinct into military discipline. First, it had to identify the scent of its comrades, distinguish allies from enemies, and respond only to specific commands, ignoring provocations and the sounds of battle. The goal was to create a dog that would not retreat, become distracted, or hesitate. They marched alongside the soldiers, covering up to 35 kilometers a day, often carrying small backpacks strapped to their backs with food, messages, or campaign supplies. They slept in the camps, stood guard during the night, and alerted to the presence of enemies long before human sentinels could detect them. In the castra, fortified camps, the Canis Bellitor played vital roles, defending perimeters, protecting supplies, and even guarding prisoners. In areas of constant conflict like Germania or Dacia, the presence of these dogs significantly increased troop security. More than fierce animals, they were part of the legion, living, marching, and dying alongside the soldiers, not out of instinct, but due to loyalty forged in every battle. Battlefield records. Although official accounts rarely give attention to dogs on the battlefield, between the lines, history tells a different story. In the Battle of Vercelli in 101 BC, the Cimbri used fierce dogs to protect their camps. According to reports, these animals fought until the end, even after their masters' deaths. They endured more than many human soldiers. The image of those dogs defending palisades, biting shields, and falling pierced by spears remained etched in Roman memory. During Gaius Julius's campaigns in Gaul and Britannia, reports mention guardian dogs among enemy tribes. Rome's response was simple: adopt, train, and integrate. From that point on, Canis Bellitor began accompanying detachments, especially in hostile regions like Germania, Thrace, and Dacia, where challenging terrain required constant vigilance. There are even visual representations, such as sculptures on the column of Marcus Aurelius, showing dogs alongside legionaries. Although their exact function, tracking, protection, or attack, is not clearly described, their presence was not symbolic. It was tactical. They were not weapons of mass destruction like catapults, but precise weapons used where fear, darkness, or ambushes required more than human eyes could see. Legacy and recognition. Despite their strength, bravery, and military usefulness, the Canis Bellitor never received the same recognition as warhorses, generals, or military inventions. Few written records, no dedicated chronicles, and no military treatises detail them as they deserve. But that doesn't mean their presence went unnoticed by those who truly mattered: the soldiers. Many legionaries treated their dogs with more regard than their own slaves. They were fed special rations, received makeshift medical care, and in rare cases were even offered burial with tombstones and inscriptions as family members. It wasn't uncommon for a retired veteran to return to his village with a Canis Bellitor by his side. Modern descendants. As the centuries passed and the empire transformed, warfare changed, and the original lineage began to fade, crossed with other breeds or extinguished by changes in combat style. But traces remained. Modern breeds like the Neapolitan Mastiff and the Cane Corso carry fragments of that disciplined beast from imperial times in their genetics and behavior. Conclusion. Now that you know the story of this extraordinary creature, doesn't the Canis Bellitor deserve a place of honor alongside the heroes of Rome? These forgotten warriors of the ancient world served with the same courage and dedication as their human counterparts, leaving behind a legacy written not in stone, but in the loyalty and bravery that defined an empire.